Hi, hey, and all those other greetings, but adventurers. I'm Jakks, welcoming you guys back to my gaming and unboxing channel, where today we're going to continue to ride a wave. Specifically, a plush wave of Jakks Pacific. Because in the previous unboxing, we ended up unboxing a supersonic Jakks Pacific plush, as well as unboxing a supersonic Jakks Pacific figure. So if you guys want to check that out, make sure to do that. You don't necessarily need to before you watch this video, but if you're interested in supersonic stuff, then yeah, it's there. So cool. But today, as I said, we are going to continue to ride the wave, and this time it's extremely exciting because we have a plush that has not been marketed that much, as well as a character that's had like nothing ever. So it's super exciting. So we're just gonna jump into this and throw out the first character, Amy Rose, or Rosie the Rascal. So this character is extremely interesting for two reasons. So first off, this character was introduced, I don't know the first necessary introduction, but we'll just go game introduction. The character was introduced alongside Metal Sonic inside Sonic CD. You have this cinematic opening, which is super cool, but in the game's opening, when you first start off, you have this character rush up to you, this pink hedgehog that's infatuated with you and just wants some attention. Thinks you're the bee's knees, you're the coolest thing since sliced bread. Other terms that are 90s cool terms. And this metal version of yourself swoops in, takes her, and you have to go and save her. The interesting thing about Sonic CD, however, if you didn't know, is that it was actually being developed alongside Sonic 2. However, Sonic 2 was being created by one Sega team, while Sonic CD was created by the other. And they were both meant to be sequels, which is extremely interesting. But Sonic CD, despite introducing two main staple characters, really got the shaft. If you look in Sonic Mania's opening, you'll see Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, maybe Sonic and Knuckles? I'm really not sure. But trust me, CD is not there. But to be fair, I think it's been debated whether it's legitimately canon or not. Just for the sheer fact of it delves into a lot of time travel-y stuff. So it's possible it could have even erased itself or just be from another dimension. And while I don't know about the Archie comics that much, I do know inside of Archie comics, they ended up renaming the character as Rosie the Rascal instead of Classic Amy. I guess they figured that it sounded better, which isn't wrong, you know, and it's a way bigger drastic design change from CD to modern. Whereas all of the classic games had this design with Amy having a green shirt with a orange skirt. In the modern era, they changed this more Sonic looking character to closer to Knuckles' design, having a red dress. So I don't know if they just figured it made more sense to have a more drastic name difference, whereas Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, they all have the regular classic name, whereas even now, according to Generations, Robotnik now wants to be called Eggman, which is also weird because when it was introduced, he hated the name and it was an insult, but he embraces it super quickly in Generations. I don't know if it's him looking at himself as a mentor, but it's weird. For the duration of this video, though, I will probably refer to this character as Rosie. Now, plush-wise, we haven't gotten too many Rosie or Classic Amy plush. We have thankfully gotten one that's in 3D, being in the GE Classic line, which I don't have a video on, but I found almost all of the GE Classics at Disney, at Epcot, when I was on that trip. And I mentioned this a lot, and I know I mentioned that I really love GE. But it's a cool plush. You know, it's got her hedge, it's got her back spikes, and honestly, in that plush, it looks more like Classic Amy in design, whereas this one, because of how they have the spikes do look a little bit off. I'm not gonna lie. But for the most part, I think GE is the only plush of Classic Amy. You know what though? There is one more. The Sonic the Fighters plush line did have Amy in it. But I believe that's the only plush. There are a few figures of Classic Amy, despite her not showing up in Sonic Generations, which I believe were more so Jazzware. I don't know if anybody else did. If there's any corrections that I have, I'll put them in edit. I'll put them in editing. If any of you guys know, please let me know, because there might be some stuff that I don't know about. But let's jump into the plush. So the first thing I want to mention is, just because we've already brushed up on it, for the hedges, I think it kind of would have been better had they just done a Sonic hedge thing. Because as you can see for Sonic's hedges, it's off to the side. And that's how her hedges looked, except not having a middle one. But instead, they had it be to where there's no hedge up top, and then there's no hedges to, the side. Instead, it goes for a more Knuckles approach, where you've got them a little more downwards, and then these ones are at the side. Also kind of looks like a star or a Christmas tree, but it does look a little weird for Classic Amy, just because we don't have that top hedge. And I kind of wish they would have done that. I don't know, maybe the original one did, and they thought, it looks weird. Or if they just thought this rounded thing would look better since the back of the head is flat. So that kind of style does do a disservice to the plush. Other than that, though, we have her headband, which the GE one did go for a 3D band. It looked pretty nice. And it felt pretty nice. And while this one feels okay, it doesn't do a huge service to the plush. I think it looks pretty good, and it just really works with the style. It's also probably, again, better for quality control, as I've been saying. Going from that to the ears do seem a little flatter than the other plush have been. I'm not sure why. I don't know if they just don't have as much air, if the stitching is closer. But it does have a little more give, so that does make me a little bit nervous. There might be a reason for that. But the ears still look cute as ever. And then as well, we have this little hair tuft, which I'm not sure if this curve is intentional, but I like it. It adds some pizzazz to it. It adds a lot of cuteness, and I really think that's adorable. But this is essentially equivalent to Tails' little hair tuft, except for the fact that it's not as big. It's also kind of funny that they were developed around the same time, and they both had the idea to give this little hair tuft. Maybe there was an idea of like, oh, hey, this is what we want the characters to look like, and then, they went off of these little tiny bases, and they ran with it, but Tails is a fox, so I really don't know. It might have just been coincidence, or they were sharing designs or something. Not sure. Amy, being the first female of the series as well, has her little eyelashes, which is something they don't need to worry about on other characters like Knuckles or Tails, because Tails is a guy. I know Tails is voiced by a female, sounded female originally, but Tails is a guy. Just a friendly reminder. But we do have this this flat embedded eyelash, which, believe it or not, I actually like this better because the eyelashes on Amy Plush tend to be off of the plush and not embedded, and they're generally very flimsy. Whether they end up coming in two or whether they just fall off or just get super damaged, this way you don't have to worry about as much damage. And also, that's a lot of things coming off the plush with the tuft, the ears, and then the eyelash so close to each other. That would make me a little nervous. Going from that, it looks like they made the nose change. Unfortunately, they didn't do this for the regular Sonic for this wave, but they do have that nose change for the other characters, making it longer and less of a gumdrop, which is perfect. Right length. Thank you so much for that. I know it's silly, but it looks nice. The eye itself, the white of the eye seems to be bigger than Sonic's, but not as big as Supersonic's. Probably because the cute size of the white part of the eyes is huge for Rosie. While Rosie in the comics is an extremely angry, extremely tantrumy character, in the games, she's super loving and has these cute, innocent eyes for her. So I think that looks pretty nice, and the smile complements it perfectly. So definitely a nail point right there. The colors also look pretty great as well. So going on to the outfit, as I said, you have her with a green polo type shirt having a white collar, which they do have here. It is a little bit low, probably just because of how big her head is. But honestly, that's fine. It's really not a big problem considering that the color is correct. And for the clothing, if you're wondering, it is actually stitched to the arm. It is not a separate clothing piece, which, again, I've said this many times, is probably a better thing to do. It limits damaging and it ends up saving you a lot of cost, because instead of having to put stuff under, you can just mesh it with the thing and you don't have to worry as much. That being said, though, you do have the skirt that comes off, which is this very, very frilly orange type color, which, thinking about it, it kind of looks like one of those, like, oh my god, it's a poodle skirt. It's a poodle skirt! Holy crap. It's from, because she's from the 90s. Everything makes sense now. The universe is coming together. But the whole entire skirt looks pretty great. And the way they did the frill, it, I know I keep referencing different plush and stuff, but it reminds me of how they did Wiggler's petals, in the way of not as harsh of it, but they pinch the top of it so that it adds this more like frill design, which is super, super cool. And then the back of her, believe it or not, for some reason she only has one back hedge. I don't know why they decided to do this, if it's like an idea of she's young, so it makes sense. I don't know. It's interesting. It's I kind of wish that they designed with two, but that's a SIG problem. And I can see peeking out from the bottom of the skirt is actually a little tail here. So I wasn't sure if they would add this, but they did thankfully add this. And another weird, very uncomfortable thing that they will do commonly with plush, and it's hard when you're doing a plush overview, not to accidentally do unfortunate angles. But I also know, because of, if you guys have seen my Toy Network comparison videos, because I have done Amy, we swapped the dress as a different dress. I won't spoil it if you want to watch that one, but I swapped the dress, so it's weird, but I know it from that too. Some of these plush will also give Amy underwear. I don't know if their thought is so that people don't look at the plush and go, oh, so she wears a skirt but goes commando. I don't know. It's an interesting idea, and I don't know why some plush do this, why some don't, because the Toy Network didn't. As I said, I swapped a dress as a kid. That's the only reason I know. But I don't know why this is something that they sometimes do and sometimes don't do. But we're just going to skim past that. And then, of course, we have the shoes. Now, her shoes are generally this light blue type of color. Here, they made it this, like, cloud white kind of color, and I wish it was a little more blue. But for the most part, it's fine. You also do have her shoelaces, which are orange, yellow, goldish type of a color. And it's made of ribbon, which is amazing. So that's pretty cool. And the texture of the shoe is that harder, smoother feel, whereas the bottom is that other rougher type of feel. So I know this overview for Amy was a little bit longer, but there's a little more to go over. However, we will be going over another character. That character is Mighty the Armadillo. This is insane. Now, if you don't know who Mighty the Armadillo is, I don't blame you, because Mighty was introduced inside of Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. Not Sonic the Hedgehog, but an arcade game that was released a few years after, featuring the characters of Sonic, Mighty, and Ray. All of them are kidnapped by Eggman, and you can play as all three characters to try to escape within a certain time limit. This game never actually released outside of arcades, which is a little unfortunate. Probably just because the movement was off of a trackball, and I believe that you could do a spin dash. And the American release was supposed to have the Sonic Underground, Sonic Sat.AM Eggman Robotnik design instead of the normal Robotnik design, which is actually interesting because it would have maybe been one of the first times or the first time that that design was shown in a game. Now, other than that, well, we aren't talking about Ray. Ray really wasn't used for a long time. However, Mighty was put in another game that you may have not heard of because it's for a very underutilized system that's a little bit of a complicated put together. That would be Knuckles Chaotix. Knuckles Chaotix was actually a Knuckles spin-off game where you played as two separate characters tethered by a ring. Your characters were Knuckles, Espio, Charmy, Vector. Yes, the Chaotix were introduced inside of Knuckles Chaotix, which makes sense, but pretty cool. Then you also had two new characters called Heavy and Bomb, which were Eggman enemies that tried to slow you down. Heavy literally dragging you down, and Bomb, oh, I don't know, but I'm assuming exploding. That's my best guess, really. And then you could get those two, specifically in the partner side. I don't think you could get them as a main character, because getting Heavy and Bomb would suck. I haven't played it, unfortunately. But you also can play as Mighty, which is pretty cool. Now, why is Knuckles Chaotix a game that you generally wouldn't be able to play today? Well, unless you have an emulator. Mainly because it was a part of the Sega 32X. Not only is the game about $100 or more to be able to get, the Sega 32X, from what I understand, you would need a lot of things, considering that it's an add-on. I don't know if it's specifically an add-on just for the Genesis, or if it's an add-on for the Genesis and the CD. I'm not sure 100% on that, just because it's something I haven't researched, because it's something I would probably not ever be able to get, but it's a shrug. For the longest time, though, Mighty was locked into the vault with Ray as characters that will never see the light of day. The next time they were shown was Sonic Generations in missing posters, right alongside Bean, Bark, and Fang's wanted posters, which I hope they also get some merchandise, because that would be pretty cool. The thing is, though, Mighty was never in Sonic the Fighters. While Bean, Bark, and Fang did get their plush debuts, Mighty never did. Ray never did, and they weren't really ever seen, but spoken of, until Sonic Mania. Specifically Sonic Mania Plush. While unfortunately Amy was never added as a playable character in the game, and she would have been perfect for her Pico Pico Hammer or some kind of a double jump ability, something like that, Mighty and Ray were added. Mighty specifically is able to do what is called a hammer drop, where he curls up in a ball and he drops to the ground. He's able to break certain ground types, kind of like Knuckles being able to break side rocks, because of his hard shell. And he's also seemingly able to break certain spikes, but I'm really not sure how that works, because I've tried bouncing on certain spikes and they don't work, so I don't know if it's specific ones. But if you know, please let me know. I haven't played that much of either character since the DLC came out, because I played Encore, and I also just wanted it for the physical, and by that point I had done playthroughs of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, so... I almost forgot to mention as well, Mighty and Ray did get quite a cheer, not only from fans, but Sega themselves, as they had Tyson Hess and a lot of very popular, talented people work on different animations called Sonic Mania Adventure. There's 5 different shorts. If you have not seen it, I 100% recommend it. It is hilarious. It has no dialogue, but it is beautiful. Any of those modern, classic, those new age Sonic animations, please check them out, because they're amazing. There's also a Christmas special with Amy and Metal Sonic, which was so cute. Cutest thing I've ever seen. Well, there was also Chows in Space. So, yeah. But anyway, though, without further ado, let's look at Mighty himself. The very unimpressed strongman, who is pretty much just Sonic but an armadillo. He's alright, Personally, I never had a big attachment to him, and since I've never played him in Mania, I'm kind of in a shrug type thing. He was in the comics as well, from what I understand. And while I don't have a necessarily a personal attachment to him, I think he's actually pretty cool, and I'm super happy to have this plush, and the fact it exists is insane. We can only hope for a Ray one as well. But as I keep interrupting myself, let's look at the plush. So let's go to the ears first, because I did notice, instead of doing like a curl thing, again like Wiggler's ear or like Amy's skirt, which would have just been to a thicker extent, they end up making this very like chestnut type of shape, and then embroidering a little banana shape onto the inside of his ear to give that type of a curve thing. Would I have preferred the other thing? Sure, but in this style, it actually does look pretty nice. Going from that, you do have the shell itself, which looks pretty good. There's no like ridges or anything, but because of how the style is, this works really well, considering there's not a lot of detail on his back. It's just this red shell, and the red shell feels good. It actually has like a harder fabric as well, which is also pretty nice, and is a little different from the black fabric on him, which is a little bit softer. Well, I would have liked it to be a little more curved. Instead, they have it be to where he has kind of a caboose shell. Like it's a little more like larger there. There's like just that bump, probably because of the curve. And then of course you have his tiny little tail, which is just really cute and adorable. Going back to his face, you have about the same size as... Actually, no. The eyes are fairly small compared to the rest of him. Probably the height of Tails, but the blacks of the eyes are still pretty big. Unfortunately, this does also mean that the whites of his eyes are tiny, tiny, tiny little sesame seeds, which is kind of unfortunate. He does also have this unamused frown, but it kind of just looks like he's boredly waiting in like some line at the DMV or something. Why does Mighty need a car? I don't know. Maybe he just wants one. And then, of course, you have his arms. Pretty much... Actually, they're longer than Sonic's, as well as Amy's, which I didn't notice. So they made the arms less stubby, which is pretty cool. Gives you a little bit more movement. You know, if you want to have him do a tiny little boxing match. Come on, fight me, T-Rex. Fight me. Fight me. I can do it now, because I have arms just as long as you. Woo, whoosh, whoosh. You can do that. Instead of being in fists as well, he also has his thumbs out, which I like that design better. It just reminds me a lot of the older Sonic plush, personally. And then, of course, you have his round stomach, which is very much like Sonic's, and the same material, just not as puffed out, which, again, also works better for this plush design. He looks less plump. I don't know if they did this because he's taller than Classic Sonic or why, but it works nicely for him. And then, of course, his shoes, a little bit darker than Sonic's, but looks pretty much the same. The bottom being gray, which I didn't think was done until Modern, but apparently some Classic do have that. Well, also, Knuckles was gray originally, I think, too. And then, of course, you have this little strap, which is more so the same as his eye, but a little bit rougher, and instead of just being unattached, or, well, not attached to his shoe, but like a little strip, this is actually embroidered into the shoe as well. So that's a little bit of a difference, and it's fairly nice. But anyway, though, guys, let me know what you guys think of both Rosie the Rascal's plush and Mighty. It's insane that either one of these guys have current plush of them, and I'm interested to see what else they'll do for plush. I'm kind of hoping they do Ray just to give Mighty a little buddy so that his frown can turn upside down. And who knows, maybe if we see some modern plush, we can see some interesting styles, or we can finally see Jakks Pacific do a little bit more of a 3D take on plush. I do know today I checked some stuff and it looked like they were doing some more stuff like that, but it's a shrug because I never know what they're doing. But anyway, though, guys, if you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button, share us out with everybody known love, brother, mother, sister, father, iguana. Let me know, are you more excited for Amy or are you more excited for Mighty? And what do you guys think of the plush in general? Alright, guys. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys later. Ready, set, woo! Should I have them like holding hands? Yeah, this is cute. It's like when you combine Waluigi and Daisy in Mario Party, and it's just their team name is Awkward Date. That's what this seems like. Like, Amy's just like, she's given up on Sonic, and she's like, this armadillo guy's close enough. And he's strong too, you know, so why not? Might make Sonic jealous. I don't know, it's cute though. Alright, bye guys.